Martin Luther King once said, "We are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream." Welcome to the Courthouse, your #1 legal talk show, where we provoke intellectual discussions of the law and break down the law. We'll take a quick break now, and when we come back, we'll let you in on the very interesting topic of the day. You don't want to miss this. Do stay with us.
If we have to give you anything, then we have to give you everything. Lava Plus Channel 465 is simply the best. Because we have something for every member of the family. So dads, keep the team spirit going on with our intriguing sport highlights and reviews. And moms, cooking is never boring when you have our intriguing drama series. And for all your lovely kids, just sit and enjoy. This, and all this. I told you, we have something for everyone. Because we are indeed all about you. So keep it locked on Lava Plus Channel 465 on Star Times.
Today, we'll be treating a very thought-provoking topic, the fundamental human right of every citizen. And I'm sure we've heard about it one point or the other. What are your rights? What are his rights? What is my right limited to? Today with me is a very interesting and insightful guest, Barrister Dare Adigun, who will be telling us more we need to know about this topic. You are very welcome.
Hello, Toyosi. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much for coming. So, Barrister Dare, can you tell us more about this topic, the fundamental human rights?
Well, Toyosi, I would start from the foundation. What do we mean by fundamental? When you hear fundamental, what comes to mind? And naturally, what comes to mind is that fundamental simply means basic. So it means those rights that are basic to us just for the reason that we are human beings. So just the fact that you have been given birth to as a human being, you have some particular rights which are not just there, but are entrenched in a document, usually the Constitution, to ensure that we will live as peacefully as we can, and to ensure that our interactions don't overlap between myself and yourself. So fundamental rights is just a basic right that you receive by law, by reason of being a human being.
Tell us more.
Okay, I would like to refer to some documents which talk about these rights. In Nigeria here we have the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic as amended. And if you look at Chapter 4 of that Constitution, you will find out that it talks about a lot of things there regarding its citizens. And these things are what we call the fundamental human rights. They include the right to life, they include the right to freedom of movement, they include the right to fair hearing, it includes the right to the dignity of the human person, and a lot of that, the right to religion, freedom of association, a lot of things that the lawmakers have envisaged that would continuously happen as long as human beings are together in an enclave. And so for regulating and ensuring that we don't overlap and we don't cause a situation of chaos, they have entrenched these rights into the Constitution to ensure that everybody can play their part.
Okay, you said that the fundamental human rights are the rights that are basic to every citizen. And we just discussed the rights in Nigeria. Are there international laws or rights that are similar to our fundamental rights? And what are they? Is there a universal law also? Is there a law for every nation and every state? And are they similar to our laws?
Yes, basically, Toyosi, we have every constitution in every country has this right in their constitution. But because of immigration and emigration of people from one country to another, there is a need for an international body to also regulate these rights. And that's where we have the European Union, we have the United Nations Organization, we have the African Unity, now formerly the Organization of African Unity. You find out that these countries come together to ensure that whatever rights is applicable in country A, you can also be applied to citizen of country B by the time you move into country A. So we have documents like the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. We have the Universal Declaration of Rights. We have the Bill of Rights in the United States of America. So many and so many treaties. We talk about these intrinsic rights because they are very basic, because they are very necessary, and they are very relevant to every human being.
Wow, wow. So are there similarities between these laws that those laws have and our laws have, or are each laws different to their nation, or are there basic laws that are also similarity and runs down to every other law?
I'll start by saying this. As a human being, whether you are white, whether you are black, whether you are an American, whether you are a Nigerian, there is the need for you to eat.
Yes.
There is a need for you to work. There is a need for you to go to work and earn money. So as far as human beings, we have peculiar needs which are similar. It means that the same laws which will guide us as human beings everywhere in the world will be similar also. There may be very slight differences, but in general, every of these laws are similar in nature.
Wow, wow, wow. So we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll delve more into this very interesting topic. Do stay with us.
Fundamental human rights are considered as basic human rights of all citizens, irrespective of their gender, caste, religion, or tribe. They are the constitutional rights of every person by virtue of being a citizen of a country. These rights are universal and are inalienable, which simply means they cannot be taken away by the government or any authority or any fellow citizen. There are the legal entitlements of every citizen protected by the Constitution or laws of the state. Several fundamental human rights include right to dignity of the human person, right to life, right to personal liberty, right to freedom of religion, right to freedom of movement, speech, etc.
Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is the Courthouse. Today we've been discussing a very interesting topic called the fundamental rights of every citizen. And we've been told by Barrister Dare that the fundamental rights are the basic inherent rights that are provided for every citizen. It is inherent in our nation. He has also explained that this right also spans across different nationalities, different countries, and different nations. He has given us examples such as the Bill of Rights for America, the African Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is a right that protects every single human as long as you're born in this earth. So Barrister Dare, bringing it home, what is the right, the Nigerian Constitution? Tell us more about the right.
I would delve on one particular right today, which is a major topic of discussion worldwide and even nationwide as a nation. And this talks about the right to the dignity of the human person. What is the human person? The human person is myself and you. And as a human person, we deserve to be respected. That is what this right talks about. I deserve to be respected, you deserve to be respected, and to ensure that this respect is carried out by both myself and you, the law has put in place this mechanism, which is Section 34 under our Constitution, and it talks about the preservation of human integrity.
The preservation of human integrity, which is seen in Section 34 of the 1999 Constitution. So this, I believe it is the right to dignity of human person.
Yes.
So are there the international laws? Is this stipulated also in the international laws? And do you by any chance know the sections or the articles it is stipulated in?
Well, I know that in the African Charter for Human and People's Rights, Article 4 and 5 talks about the same rights to the dignity of the human person. In the Bill of Rights, their laws are a bit voluminous than ours, so they don't differentiate it by sections and articles like we do ours, but it is also in the Bill of Rights. Because if you even look at the wordings, you find out that we didn't start this law. We inherited it. So you look at the wordings and you find out that our wordings are very similar
Similar.
to what you can find in the Bill of Rights and what you can find in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights.
So tell us more about this right to dignity of human person.
The right to dignity of human person just simply stipulates that every person is entitled to be respected, every person is entitled to be accorded some form of integrity and to be accorded some form of cordiality when being dealt with. And it talks about two main things in our Constitution. Number one is the right not to be subjected to inhuman treatment, to degrading treatment, and to torture most especially. And the second one talks about the right not to be enslaved. That is, not to be engaged in slavery or servitude. So it's majorly cuts across these two parts. That is, that your human person must not be so degraded as for you to feel that you are an animal, or for you to feel that you are less of a human being. And the second part being that every man is equal. Every human being is equal, and no person has the right to enslave another.
Wow, wow. Please go on.
All right, I would continue by saying that if we look at the Nigerian situation, we would find out from history that we grew up in a system of colonialism and a system of slavery. And to me, I feel that we still have ripple effects of this issue of colonialism, because we even find Nigerians trying to enslave each other. So it means that it hasn't even gotten out of our DNA to understand that every human being is equal and every human being deserves to be treated the way you want to be treated. If you go to homes today, you find that there are underage children there serving as servants, maids, and things like that. So you find out that it is still a bit difficult for us to move out of that regime of slavery that we saw and that we imbibed into ourselves.
As you rightly said, Barrister Dare, this right to dignity of human persons, how practical is it in our society? Because we can see it, even the police torturing suspects for information, not feeding them, not giving them the basic needs as a human. They starve in the cell for 5 days, for 3 days. Sometimes they die in the cell out of torture. Is the government enforcing this right, or is it just there for theory's sake? What is going on?
Well, I would refer you to a picture I saw years back before I delve more on this issue. It talked about the different police forces in different developed nations and the Nigerian nation. And they said there was a task for every police officer to get a tiger. And they say that the Europeans probably used technology to get the tiger. The Asians used their own cultural methods to get the tiger. And when they came to the part of the Nigerian police officer, they said the Nigerian police got a cat and beat the cat so much that the cat said, okay, I am a tiger. So you can understand that if this is how the world is portraying us, there are some fundamental issues that we need to deal with. And this issue has not gone. It is still revolving in our society of torture of suspects in custody. And it is a trend that must change. And how can it change? There must be an overall sensitization of the Nigerian police force. That is, you must continue to train your men.
Yes.
Because you find out that most of our police officers have just gone through one form of training, and that's where it stops. So as the world evolves, we need to ensure that our police force evolves also. We need to ensure that they understand the basic of the fundamental human rights. Because you find out that in the police force, the only section that probably knows about human rights are the legal section. If you go to every other section, they don't even know whether we have rights or not. Once you are a suspect, they say the Nigerian law says that you are innocent until proven guilty. But when you get to the police station, they say Nigerians say that you are guilty until you are proven innocent. So you find out that there's a fundamental issue with the way we do our policing. There's a fundamental issue with the way we retrieve evidence from suspects. Yes. Because I looked at some studies online and I found out that deprivation of food even affects the thinking faculty. So which means that a person who was hitherto innocent, when you deprive him of these benefits of the human person, he will claim to be guilty because he is disillusioned with life, because he has no reason to feel that he is innocent anymore. So these are the basic issues that we are talking about. And I feel that the federal government has the major role to play in this, because they are the government that supervises the police force. They appoint the police force, they appoint the head of the police force, so they have a major role to play to ensure that this issue dies out in our society.
Also, the government has said that this is what it's supposed to be. We have heard it a lot of times. But they still go literally in contradiction of what the government says. What can be done?
I think practically, if we look at the Nigerian society, most of our customs, not customs, most of our laws, most of our conventions are borrowed. And if we look at these societies where we borrow these laws from, I think we can also borrow systems of interrogation from them too. Because if they are doing their interrogations, they are doing their investigations, and there are no outcry of violation of human rights, I think there are things to be copied there. I think we can get experts there to train our men on how to get evidence from suspects without having to resort to myopic and archaic modes of torture and degrading the human person of this suspect. For example, if you are very familiar with movies, overseas movies, you find out that there is something they call a lying machine, which looks at the pulse, it looks at your veins, it looks at your flow of blood, it looks at your brain function when you are giving your testimony. So by the time you are giving a testimony that is away from the truth, there is a way it spikes. So they are aware already that there is a lie there. So instead of continuing with that investigation, they go around that point that you made where the spike came about, and they continue to bring questions in different forms. And you find out that in so doing, they are able to elicit points. They are able to elicit things that can help their investigation, things that can help their prosecution in courts.
Barrister Dare, also on the issue of jungle justice, which for some reason is very rampant in our society. It is amazing that when a person is caught stealing or doing something, the first thought that comes to Nigerians is to get a tire, get kerosene, and burn that person. One of the amazing things also is that whenever you hear the news, you can see some policemen hanging around when those things are being done. This jungle justice is obviously a breach of the right to dignity of human person. How can we solve this issue? Because it has become a cankerworm in our nation. How can this issue be solved?
I agree with you that it is a very, very grave issue. It is a very pathetic issue.
Yes, sometimes we hear the suspect saying, I did not do it, I'm innocent, I'm accused, I'm innocent. Yet, before this person can be given a right to fair hearing, he is burnt. And this is a mindset of every Nigerian. Punish him right there and there. How can this jungle justice be eradicated in our nation?
I would say again that information in this regard plays a vital role. What you are doing here today is very vital in eradicating jungle justice. That is telling the people that it is wrong. We must continue to do that, because the truth is, as a policeman, I would be sincere with you. If I am a policeman and I see 100 people trying to beat up somebody, I can't protect him because they outnumber me and they will power me. So if for the policemen probably standing back, if they don't have the appropriate mechanisms to disperse the crowd or to protect that suspect, I feel there's really nothing we can do in that regard. So as a people, we need to come to the realization that if jungle justice has been working, we won't still be having it in the 21st century, which means that it is a system that isn't working. So we must go back to the drawing board and find out, how can we make our justice system work? I will give you a very good example. I grew up in the western part of Nigeria, and by reason of family ties and all of that, we got to hear stories from our grandparents, from our great-grandparents about how things were done in their time. And you find out that in their time, the people that sell things in the market rarely even go to the market. That is the sellers. They just put their goods and put an indication of how much they want to sell that thing. You go there, you pick it up, and you drop the price of it. So our society was that blessed, it was that good, and it was that functional, which means that we must trace our steps back to find out where we got it wrong and erase everything that we have done that continued on that wrong step, and go back to that issue and that practice that we had before, and see if we can eradicate this issue of jungle justice.
So, Barrister Dare, what are the exceptions, or are there limitations of my right to dignity? Do I have limitations, or is that right exclusive to the exception of anything?
When we got to the Faculty of Law, the very first principle we are taught is that to every general rule in life, there is an exception.
Okay.
And so also to this fundamental human rights we're talking about, there are exceptions. And the 1999 Constitution even gives guidelines on these exceptions. Number one, talking about servitude and slavery, is that if you voluntarily decide to join the military or any military parastatal, whatever duty or whatever action that they ask you to partake of, you have to partake of it, whether or not it abuses your dignity or your integrity. But the fact that you have agreed to join the military, whatever service they tell you to do, for example, if you look at videos online, you see them crawling in muddy waters as part of their training.
Even if that service is torturous to your human person, as long as you have signed to join the military, you must face the consequences of your actions.
Wow. Because it is seen as an agreement. And even by contract law, an agreement will be binding, except there is some illegality in agreements that nullifies it. And being in that kind of situation, there is no illegality. We also have the National Youth Service Corps. That is another exception to the right to the dignity of human person, which says that whatever you are told to do at that point in time for that year as national assignment, you must do it. No matter how bad you feel it is, or no matter how low you think it is. So we have several exceptions like this and like that limits this. But basically, the 1999 Constitution has done a good job in confining these exceptions to specific positions or to specific organizations. So which means that by virtue of this exception, I can't go to a private company now and they tell me that one of the terms of employment or the terms of the contract of employment is for me to do something that would degrade my human person. No, you can't do that. Yes. So the Constitution has confined the institutions where such abuses can occur.
Barrister Dare, before we round up, in the labor force, in the workplace, what are these practical rights to dignity of human person? Can my boss make me do anything and everything because I signed a contract to him? Can he give me some advances, sexual advances or anything, in return for profits or in return? Am I bound by it because I signed to work to him? Where does my dignity begin, even in the workplace?
Of course, you are not bound by it, but I would like to always talk about the cause of these things when I want to talk about preferring solution. And I feel as a nation, one of the major causes of these abuses of dignity in the workplace is the fact that we are poor and we are ignorant. Those are the two main things. So you find out that a poor man and an ignorant man is ready to do anything to earn a living. He's ready to do anything to make sure that he goes home with some pay to either cater for himself or cater for his family. So that is the root cause. And that is what employers are capitalizing on. The fact that they think that they own you because they pay you. It makes them ask you to do anything. But I feel as a person, there are always opportunities. There are always chances for you to do something better with your life. If an employer challenges you to do something that you feel is degrading on your human person, I don't see any reason why you should go along with it, because you quote and unquote say you are earning a living. That is no longer a living. It has become a burden.
Yes. In the American and international laws, I see a lot of employees suing their employers, either because they had been falsely terminated or dismissed, and the court orders that they resume. As an employee in Nigeria, do I have such laws? Does the law guarantee such laws to me where my right to dignity of human person has been infringed? What laws and remedies do we have?
That is one area where I must confess that we are still developing, which is the labor law. You find out that most of the times these laws are there, but the problem is not them being there, but the problem that is enforcing those laws. Because for a law to be valid, there must be a mechanism of enforcement. So just putting the law in the books is theory. So until we have practical approaches, I don't know of any case of employer winning the employees, I beg your pardon, winning the employers in court, except for a very few minute cases. So you find out that people are even reluctant to even start the process because they don't even know, there's a vagueness about what the law entails. And you find out that sometimes, because of this ignorance that I mentioned earlier, a lot of employees have signed what they don't even know they are signing. So when you want to come and say that, oh, I will challenge you, I will sue you to court, I will do this, I will do that, they bring out your contract of employment and they begin to read the bylaws in that contract for you.
So we must be very particular when we are signing our terms and conditions of employment, and we must read through it, and we must know what we are delving into.
I also suggest that if you cannot read through it, get yourself a lawyer.
Get yourself a lawyer. Get
As
yourself
simple
a
as that,
lawyer.
yeah.
Now, we have an interesting segment called the Bar Book, where we talk about legal maxims and their meaning. My favorite maxim is audi alteram partem, which simply means hear the other side, which is a very fundamental, basic human right. Barrister Dare, can you tell us your favorite legal maxim and what it means?
My favorite maxim, which even encouraged me to study law, is Ubi jus, ibi remedium, which is that the law does not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy.
The law does not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy.
Once
So
there is a wrong, there must be a remedy, which means that at law, once somebody has done something wrong to you, you can approach the law courts, you can approach justice, you can approach equity, and you can obtain a remedy. So that's wrong.
Wow, thank you very much. It has indeed been a wonderful time having you, and I believe that our viewers must agree with that. It has been an insightful time. It has been a wonderful time. Now, before we leave, can you give us your final advice?
Well, my final advice would be to everyone to obey the law, respect the law, and respect your fellow citizen. And in a case where your right has been breached, report to the appropriate authority.
Wow, 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 wow. Did you hear that? In your case where your right has been breached, report to the appropriate authorities. Wow. It has been a wonderful and enlightening and intellectual discussion here at the courthouse. And with me has been Barrister Dare Adigun. Thank you so much once again for coming. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Definitely.
You can join us next time by logging on to www.lovewordplus.org. I am Toyosi Okpanubi. And remember, don't just get mad. Go get a lawyer. See you next time. Thank you.